TV party tonight!
Oh, we got nothing better to do than watch TV and have a couple of brews.
Don't want to talk about anything else.
We don't want to know.
We're dedicated, yes, to our favorite shows!
Oh, my circuits!
Everybody loves Hypnotoad.
Scary dog!
Pearson and Blurnsville.
Futurama!
Good evening. This is the Radulich Broadcasting Network premiere podcast TV party tonight. I'm your host, the mandated reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified, Mr. Mark Radulich. And tonight, we are reviewing the Netflix original series, The Dark Crystal, Age of Resistance, which debuted on Netflix August 30th, 2019. It was 10 episodes long, and it was brought to you by the good people at the Jim Henson Company and Netflix. It is a prequel series to the original Dark Crystal movie, also a Jim Henson joint. Jim Henson and Frank Oz, as a matter of fact, which debuted how far back? Way back in December of 1982.
I was not born.
I was 6 years old when this came out. And I believe I watched it on HBO. That voice you hear showing his age is Robert Winfree, the host of the 411 Ground and Pound radio show, and Damn You Hollywood, right on this here network. How you doing, Robert?
If we don't mind pulling back the curtain a little bit, you occasionally insist we record earlier in the morning, and it makes me cranky.
Yeah, for those that don't know, I'm in Tampa, he's in Utah, and there's a significant time difference between us.
Yeah, 2 hours. It's only 2 hours.
Well, when I insist we go for, in the afternoon, it's still 10 o'clock your time, and you apparently don't go to bed till 4 o'clock in the morning.
4 in the morning your time.
So, before we get into the series, just real quick, how familiar are you with the original movie?
It's weird because, once again showing our ages, I had an old VHS copy of some other movie. I can't remember for the life of me what it was. Something that I now own in a better format, but it was taped off of television, I believe.
Was it animated or live action?
I don't remember.
Was it Labyrinth?
But, no.
Secret of Nim?
No, but maybe.
The Last Unicorn?
No.
I'm going to stop guessing now. Go ahead.
That's a good idea. But at the beginning of this VHS movie was the last big action piece from the original movie, from The Dark Crystal, which makes no sense out of context. It's Agra rescuing the Fizz gig, it's Mira getting stabbed, it's Jen returning the crystal, and then the big and it is just the climax of the movie. And it was just what was on prior to the movie that was recorded. And so it was forever on this VHS copy. When I turn it on, it's here, and it's literally like 5 minutes, like 5 to 10 minutes. So I just watch it before I watch what I wanted to watch. And years later, I would finally get around to seeing the entire thing. But this is, to me, the original movie, and to a lesser extent the series. It's Jim Henson experimenting with what he could do, with what he could, the stories he could tell, what the audience would go along with. For me, it's not as successful as Labyrinth, which would come after chronologically. That was what he and Frank Oz did after Dark Crystal. But I think Dark Crystal is a more interesting world, but a less interesting movie. And here we get, again, kind of the continuation of that logic of, let's experiment and see what we can do. Let's see how practical effects now mesh up with our contemporary computer-generated imagery. Let's see what kind of stories we can do. And, I think you and I both agree that the series as a whole is good, not great, with some stuff that stands out and some stuff that, has issues.
So let's, I know for me, as I said, I watched it probably when it showed up on HBO sometime, I'm going to assume, in 1983. It was a long time ago, folks, so you'll have to pardon the lack of detailed memory there. But I definitely watched it at home. We had a VHS copy of it that we taped off of HBO, which I watched pretty frequently. It's on Netflix now. I just recently showed it to my kids. I mean, was it my favorite thing growing up? No, I liked it just fine. It was in the wheelhouse of high fantasy, which is a genre I probably enjoyed the most as a child, and as an adult, it's up there with standard action. I think it's 1A, 1B, depending on the mood that I'm in. I watched it a bunch. I liked it. The movie, just to give you some context, can be a little slow. It's a little drab. You know, at this point, Thra, the life has been sucked out of Thra. It's just a wasteland. And so it's the movie is structured as a journey, a quest. Jen's the only Gelfling, and has to go find the shard. So the first act of the movie is world building and sending him off on his quest, which is literally like he wakes up one day and it's like, well, the Great Conjunction's going to happen soon. You need to get out there, and like they throw him out of the house.
Well, isn't the mystic he lives with also the other half of the Emperor who dies at the beginning of the movie?
Yeah, there's a lot happening right at the beginning. The Emperor is dying. The head mystic is who's he's attached to. So probably if you've just listened to our shows and you don't really know what the Dark Crystal is, real quick explanation. As near as I can tell, putting the show and the movie together and trying to figure out some of the backstory here, we'll call them the ascendant form of
it's a separate race called the Urskek.
The Urskek, okay. The Urskek, after a great conjunction that split the crystal, separated them into two distinct beings, the Skeksis, who are like vulture lizard type creatures, and then the mystics. I couldn't even tell you what kind of animal they look like. They have long tails, long kind of snoopy snouts, and like hunchbacks. So anyway, since they are split, when one dies, the other dies, which they make a lot of fun use out of in the show. By the way, in the movie, in the movie, the Emperor dies, so the head mystic dies. That's the first time you see it. Later on, like a Skeksis gets stabbed, and then it flashes to the other mystic, and so the Skeksis like, "Oh, my hand!" and it flashes to the mystic, and he's like, "Huh, my hand," because it's bleeding too. See, so yeah, so with that happening, and the Great Conjunction, which is the lining up of all the suns and stars, which will then affect the crystal. The time is now. Jen's got to go find the crystal shard that separated off the larger crystal and plug it back into the hole before the Great Conjunction. That's the movie in a nutshell. And so it's the Skeksis trying to stop him trying to get there, and all the hurdles in between. The show is the prequel to that, because they're now. I was saying like, one of the reasons why I think I liked it, didn't love it, is like I said, in this world, the way it is now in the movie, the Skeksis have done environmental damage far and wide to this planet. It's sort of a dead area. Most of the places Jen goes to explore, he only interacts with a handful of creatures, meets one other Gelfling, and and the podlings that raised her, but that's kind of it. There's a few action sequences here and there. One of the Skeksis is ousted from
the Chamberlain.
Yeah, the Chamberlain is ousted from power, and they interact with him a bit. The show, but in contrast, before the planet has been drained of its life, essentially, is lush and interesting, and there's lots of creatures, and the Gelfling society looms large and is extensive, and there's a lot going on here. So I really liked it. I prefer, I think, the series to the movie for that reason. This is a point of comparison. Having watched the movie and watched the show, which did you come away having more of a liking of?
I I think again, if you told me you're going to watch one or the other, I'd probably go with the show again. A lot of the visuals are easier to follow. They do a good job of maintaining, the traditional puppetry, but also for some of the larger set pieces or occasional bursts of action, they don't mind adding CGI to make the world seem richer and more living. And I think that was just the original was hampered by both its budget and the technology of its time. Like, I'm not throwing shade there. It's still, there's a lot of things that people enjoy about the original movie. There's things I enjoy about it. And I also think that I'm kind of a sucker for a tragic prequel. And I really do have to mention this again, not to overly spoil something that's literally older than I am, but I wouldn't get too attached to the majority of the Gelfling.
Yeah, this is not a direct link to the movie. This isn't like Rogue One, that the minute the movie ends, the next movie picks up again. It's not that sort of thing, or I want to say it's The Matrix Reloaded and then The Matrix Forever, or whatever the third one was.
Revolutions,
where it's like, it picks up like minutes later. And we'll break this down, but just to get this out there, the show ends with enough grist for the mill having been left on the table that they could do a second season. But as Robert and I were discussing before we hit the record button, they can only get one more season out of this. If they delay murdering all the Gelfling too long, this thing is going to lose a lot of its impact.
Yeah, I think you can do one more season where the Gelfling actually do come together. We see the full devastation that is the devastating potential that comes out of the Garthim. The Darkening gets further unleashed on the land, and it has to end with the last couple of Gelfling being taken away from being saved by a couple of the Mystics or the Podlings, and the rest of them dying. Like, they're really... I don't think you can get 3 seasons out of this. I think you can get 2. And I think you can get 2 good seasons. Again, this is a good season of television. Not great. Again, and let me be clear, if you out there are just like, you loved the show and you're, how dare you, I'm not sitting here, I have a few quibbles, but I enjoyed the show overall. I don't consider it, again, when I say great, like, this is not this isn't the best thing on Netflix, even for Netflix exclusive series I've watched this year. But it's probably top 10 pretty easily. So, again, it's good, but never quite hits, jaw-droppingly great for me.
So, I was talking to Robert before this started, and I said I had 2 major problems with it, one at the beginning and one at the end. I want to talk about the beginning now. The movie, as part of the world building, talks about there are 2 races that came from the stars that showed up after the crystal split, and you have the evil Skeksis, and then you have the nice Mystics. Okay, that's really all it gives you at the beginning of that. So that's where we find that world. So this thing and the Gelfling are all gone except for Jen, which they just missed him basically. The idea was that there's a prophecy that says a Gelfling will make the crystal intact and it'll wipe the Skeksis out, and so they made sure to wipe out all the Gelfling as best they could. And of course, like with any high fantasy, they missed the chosen one.
They usually miss 2 or 3.
Yeah. So where we start with this one as part of the world building, they do a lot of telling you about the Gelfling Society, which you don't really know anything about in the movie because they're gone. They've been gone for years. Tell you about all the clans and that it's a matriarchal society and all of that, and that's all fine. I have no problem with any of that. That's the world they decided to create. Where I was a little lost was they reintroduced the Agra character, who in the movie is like an astronomer. And the Mystics tell Jen, go see Agra. It's likely she was around when this all happened. It's likely she either has the shard or knows where it is. So that's like the first part of his quest. And here, she, I guess, was the keeper of the crystal, but then the...
Aughra is like, this is weird. And again, it's high fantasy, there's weirdness. So you just kind of have to go with it as far as that goes, right? Aughra's actually like the living manifestation of the planet.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's not...
She's Kurt Russell from Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Yeah, that's not horribly inaccurate. So it's kind of like that. Again, whatever energy really kind of animates Thra beyond the basics of creation, it is manifested in her, and she is the keeper of it. That's why she can hear the song of Thra. That's why that's kind of why everyone is deferential to her, even if they oppose her. Like, she and the Skeksis interact all the time, but the Skeksis don't try to kill her. It's like, oh no, you are connected with this, the essence of this planet in ways that aren't clear even to us.
Right.
So
let me jump in
okay.
here. So hang on. So that's Aughra, right? As near as I can tell, I'm going to get this out there, and then you'd be like, well, let's clean that up a bit. So you have what'd you call them initially? The Ascendant form. What were they called?
The Urskeks.
The Urskeks. So the Urskeks are aliens. They came to Thra a zillion years ago, and they interacted with Aughra, and whether it was intended to be this way or just a happy set of circumstances, they made a trade. They were like, hey, you want to go see space? And she was like, yeah, fuck yeah. So they were like, here, go. We'll watch the crystal. Then the Great Conjunction happens, and the crystal splits. And so the Urskeks split into the Skeksis and the Mystics, and I guess somewhere in there, and this is not particularly laid out, but you can infer based on the show and the movie, that the Skeksis figured out that they can manipulate the crystal to be a fountain of youth. So either the Mystics left on their own, or they threw them out, or they ran away, or whatever the story is. But the Mystics go somewhere, and the Skeksis begin using the crystal, coveting this crystal to make them eternal, which is something they covet and raise above all else. In the meantime, Aughra, I guess, brokered a deal between the Gelfling and the Skeksis that, basically the Skeksis would be the lord and masters over Gelfling society. And they kind of lived in peaceful harmony. It's like, the Skeksis like, whatever keeps the planet rolling, as long as we get to live forever. The problem then becomes the crystal starts running out of juice, essentially. Stops giving them life. And that's where things change, and that's where the series picks up, is the Skeksis have a dilemma. The crystal no longer gives life. Well, how are we going to fix it? And, like, accidentally, the scientist, Skektek, which I love that name, by the way, Skektek figures out that you can manipulate the crystal to drain the essence out of living beings, and then create a life-giving liquid from their essence. And then if they drink the liquid, again, fountain of youth. So now the balance, the political balance of this planet is in complete upheaval, as the Skeksis now view the Gelfling as sort of a means to an end, to simply a herd of sheep that are set for culling. And even within the Skeksis, you have the Chamberlain, who, if you watch the original movie, he's the one running around going all the time. And he eventually gets, like, ousted after a trial by stone, which is them hitting this fucking stone with a sword.
Yeah, in the original movie, after the Emperor dies, there is, okay, who's the new Emperor? And their trial of strength is they each get a sword and they get to smack the stone, and whoever does a better job wins.
Right.
And they each take a whack, and the Chamberlain does better, and the other guy gets deeply pissed, hits it, and actually breaks the stone. So everyone else goes up. Well, trial by stone. They strip him of his clothing and his position, kick him out, and go die of old age.
Yeah. So the Chamberlain, who's sort of your like Rasputin of the group. He kind of trying to still maintain the balance. Like he's good with killing a few Gelfling here and there to create essence, but he doesn't want to upend the entire society. The rest of the sketchies could give a fuck less. It's like once they figured out that there was no reason to keep the Gelfling alive anymore, and just like, well, let's just create a liquor store full of essence. Yeah, that was the end of political society. And so that's kind of what gets the ball rolling.
The Chamberlain even has the line, I believe. A wise, a smart shepherd will never cull their entire herd. And everyone else kind of like downplays him, but he is correct in that respect. If you kill all the Gelfling, suddenly you have a finite resource.
Right. Which is, again, the problem they run into in the movie. They've run out of juice, there's no more essence, and now the Emperor's dying. And, this is the one thing they prized above all else. So anyway, our three heroes in this, the three characters that we're following along this tale, are Taron Egerton as Rian, who's a Gelfling Crystal Castle guard.
He is the worst. Not Rian, Taron Egerton. Like, he's so bad. He's so bad.
You hate Taron Egerton. You don't hate the character, right?
I hate Taron Egerton's performance.
Really? All right. I mean, as you...
Well, okay, hang on. Hate's a strong word. He is profoundly overshadowed by literally everyone else who speaks in this movie.
I watched the making of this, and he was so happy to be a part of it. He basically said yes before he even read the part. He could have been Rian the janitor, and he'd have taken the part.
I'm sure he would have.
So I feel like your judgment of his performance in this is you just don't like the actor. And
Hold on. Hang on. I will actually defend my position in a minute, but his enthusiasm is utterly immaterial to the quality of his performance.
No, I'm not making the suggestion that it is. What I'm saying is I feel like you've sort of taken the measure of his work, deemed him to be an incompetent actor, and just sort of threw this on the pile as this too doesn't measure up.
He's not incompetent. He's just not all that good. And
you choose your adjective.
All right. And look, again, we can go into. Again, this is not based just on my general malaise towards him as a performer. I do have some very specific issues with a little bit with the character, not a tremendous amount, a little bit, and then again, just kind of with his performance. But we can get into it when it comes up.
Then you have Breya, the youngest of the Gelfling princes of the Vapra clan. You might remember Anya Taylor-Joy from the movie Glass, which we also reviewed here on this network. And then you have Natalie Emanuel, who was in a musical production of The Lion King, as near as I can tell. God, she looks. I feel like I've known her for something else, but I can't. In the little link that comes up when I click on it, I can't see what else she's done. She looks really familiar. She's Deet, born Deethra, Gelfling animal caretaker of the Groton clan. So, if you're Stonewood clan that Rian is from, which is kind of the forest folk, you have the Vapra clan. They're the city folk. And then you have the Groton clan, and then they're the Morlocks, the mole people. They live underground in tunnels. It's a really great bit when when they send Deet out on a mission, much like they did with Jen in the movie. She's used to living underground, so she has mole-like eyes, and very different from the rest of the Gelfling. And so her eyes can't adjust.
For the record, Natalie Emanuel is in a couple of the Fast and Furious movies.
I thought you looked familiar.
7, 8, and 9.
They have Donna Kimball as Aughra, Harris Dickinson, Gugu Mbatha Raw, who's been in a bunch of stuff, Victor Yared, Catriona Balfe, Shazad Latif, and Hannah John Kamen fill out your main voice cast. You have reoccurring voices from Eddie Izzard, who plays a hilarious Gelfling in this. I know you're sort of meh on Eddie Izzard, but that was one of my favorite little parts of this. Like when I realized it was him, I'm like, oh, that's funny as hell. Helena Bonham Carter is in this. Toby Jones, Lena Headey, Alicia Vikander, Natalie Dormer, James Dreyfus, Louise Gold, just to name a few. And then over on the Skeksis, you've got Jason Isaacs and Simon Pegg, Benedict Wong, and Mark Hamill, who plays the scientist, Skektek. Andy Samberg as the heretic, who's hilarious in this. Keegan-Michael Kay is the ritual master. Aquafina, I know that's one of Robert's new favorite actresses. No? All right. Is the collector. Harvey Firestein is the Gourmand. And Bill Hader is the Wanderer, one of the mystics. And Sigourney Weaver is the Myth Speaker. She was the series narrator. So, a lot of famous actors' voices signed on for this thing. It seems to be pretty well regarded as a passion Hollywood project. All right, so let's get into talking about the plot of this thing. I think is the best place to start. What sets the immediate plot rolling? We set up sort of the larger world and the problem for the Skeksis. This leads to Rian seeing the first time they figure out that they can drain the essence of a Gelfling to make Fountain of Youth water. Is they kill? I can't remember what role she played in Gelfling society, but they kill one of the females that they established early on as a friend or cohort to Rian. He sees her get murdered.
It's his girlfriend.
Is that what? Okay. I honestly couldn't tell.
There's literally a scene where they make out.
Is there really? Okay. It's been over a week since I saw the first part of this. Okay, so they capture they trick his girlfriend actually into going into the crystal chamber where they've got this machine set up, and they're like, "Hey, come check out this machine that we've got here." They strap her in there. He sees them drain her essence, and he's like, "Shit!" Because at this point, they have no reason to believe that these ugly, horrid vulture creatures would be evil. And who are you to judge based on their looks? Absolutely. Augra also looks gross, but she's, a good guy. So they drain her essence. She bursts into dust basically, and dies. It's weird because what they've done with this is, and they talk a little bit about this. The crystal is again the crystal of truth. In this case, it only when it actually works, it kind of represents the heart of the planet. Given what the Skeksis have been doing to it after it was sundered, it's now the dark crystal, and the scientist discovers that he can reverse element. He actually has a stupidly unscientific but scientific-sounding term for it. He reverses the essentially polarity of the crystal so that instead of giving life out, it takes life in. And this happens to him first of all, and then he nearly gets sucked into the crystal. He experiments further, and after the essence of the creature is drained, whatever loose material components remain are then absorbed into the dark crystal. So that's why there's no bodies. It's like, oh hey, must be really nice not having to deal with the bodies of those you kill. Well, they could have also just thrown it in the fire. There is a lava pit in there. There's plenty of ways. So that's his plot line initially. He sees the murder, and the Skeksis pretty much drag his name through the dirt, discrediting him, so that if he tells anybody, they won't mind meld with him. They have another word for it. Dream phase. Yeah, dream fast, I think is what they call it. But it's a Vulcan mind meld. They tell him they spread the word that he's a crazy person. He's got a sickness of the mind, and if you dream fast with him, you'll get the sickness too. So now nobody believes him. Nobody would ever think the Skeksis would do something so horrible until they find out that that's indeed what's happening. Yeah, there's a really interesting kind of point about all this. While the Skeksis are power hungry and a little abusive,
in the sense that a little, yeah. I mean, look, they do terrible things to each other, but prior to
just when we start off, okay, I'll get with a little. By the time they essentially like simulate I don't want to go that far. By the time they tear down the new Madra and like rip her clothes off and rip her
hang on.
We've gotten past a little abusive.
I'm talking purely about the beginning.
Okay, that's what I just want to make sure.
Purely talking about the beginning. Again, they're a little abusive and they're a little demanding, but they're not. Again, they demand unreasonable tithes from all the people, and they're invested in remaining in power, but they're not actively malicious in the way they become. And it does kind of bring up this, when the Chamberlain says, no, we don't have to go crazy about this. All we have to do is, let me tell them that he's nuts, and they'll believe us. They always believe us. Why wouldn't they believe us? And while on the one hand it does kind of come off, it is, him being manipulative, there's also a bit of a degree of truth to that. Like, we've never really lied to them. We've never, there's elements of the backstory we don't know, but we've never done anything like we're doing here. Why would they upset the order of things?
Right. They've maintained a relative sense of peace, and essentially this is like the Roman Empire, and the Gelflings are Gaul. At this point, the Empire's been in place for quite some time, and your opinion of it aside, it's working, and there's no reason to assume it isn't going to work in the future. And so one lone nut saying the Emperor has no clothes and just appointed a horse to Senate isn't going to change much. We can just deal with it. We don't need to upend the entire order of things.
As long as this doesn't get... As long as no one actually believes him and this doesn't get out of hand, we don't need to go full nuclear here.
Right. We don't need to burn Gaul to the ground. Which, of course, is exactly what they're going to attempt to do later. But they're not there yet.
Circumstances change.
And for those who are not unaware of history, Gaul is now modern-day France. Just thought I'd share that with people. Like, what's a Gaul? So that's kind of his story. Getting him out of the gate is he's on the run, and he has to deal with this horrible secret that every time he tries to tell somebody, they're like, "You're crazy," and it causes him further problems.
And it actually does look like the crazy thing is the story that Chamberlain spins of, if you dream fast with him, you'll pick up whatever his illness is, plays out to anyone who takes that at face value and sees him dream fast with someone. I go, no, the Skeksis are terrible. I knew it. They were right. You're infected.
Yeah. Very witch trial-y. And I'm just going to read this straight off the wiki here. Meanwhile, Princess Brea of Harar uncovers a symbol after questioning the Skeksi law following Harar's tribute to Skekok and Skeklach. So, Princess Brea is the youngest of three sisters who are the princesses of the Vapra clan. And their mom is like the head Madra of all the Gelfling. Each tribe has their own Madra, but she's the Madra over all the Gelfling.
Somewhat aptly named the All Madra.
Yeah. So we have the one sister who is obedient, but harbors a lot of frustration and resentment. That's the word I was looking for. Very resentful of the youngest sister, who trucks with no responsibility. She's just in the tower, in the library, doing her own thing. She's like, she's not so much interested in being a princess or the Madra. She's trying to learn things. She's essentially Belle from Beauty and the Beast. Knows the book the whole time. Meanwhile, you have the older sister, but she's like the favorite of the daughters. She's mommy's little baby. Then you have this older sister, the eldest, who's like, I am forever at all these stupid ceremonies, and I am forever doing what the Madra tells us to do, and I am preparing myself for my inevitable queenship, and yet I am looked past. I am not favored as much as the baby, and so there's conflict between these two sisters. And then there's the middle sister, the fun one, who sees both point of views. It's like, you're both dopes, but I love you.
Yeah, she's the member of she's the military one. Like, she's the one who went into the army and is now, head of the guard or some such.
Yeah.
And she constantly plays peacemaker between the oldest one. Like, oh, why is the baby being babied? Why don't I get any credit? Like, you're the one who's going to become queen. Can you show a little grace and humility?
Yeah.
Like, relax. And the baby's like, why am I suddenly required to do things? Because you're a princess. Suck it up and look beyond what you want to do once in a while.
Yeah, and if you're wondering why are we belaboring this particular point, because the eldest, what is the girl's name? The eldest daughter will have
Celadon.
Celadon will have such a delicious fall from grace and sanity. And you have to have this backstory and really understand the dynamic between the sisters to understand how she falls so fucking hard. It's one of the best parts of the main drag of this show, at least in my opinion. Yeah,
it's rather than the Skeksis, it's actually her, I think, that drives a significant chunk of the action through kind of the middle third of the series.
Yeah, where I picked it up, because I watched it in two parts. I watched the first 5 episodes, like I said, a week ago Sunday. Whenever you're listening to this, like I said, it was almost 2 weeks ago. And then I watched the last 5 right before we recorded this podcast. And the chunk that I watched today shows it's right as the Madra is killed by the Skeksis. And the daughter just fucking loses her mind. She just goes crazy. And, like, you can kind of... And it's not, like, crazy, like, foaming mad. It's more of, now I'm in control. Just all that resentment sort of just bubbles up. And you can see it in her puppet eyes that, like, the synapses in her brain have just snapped. And it's like, the Skeksis would never lie to us. No matter what, at this point, no matter what everyone who's a Gelfling who isn't a Skeksis says is just poison, and everything the Skeksis says is good, right up to the point where she actually starts dressing like a Skeksis, and then she goes to them and she's like, maybe not kill all the Gelfling.
Yeah, this is the depth of both her insanity and how far the Emperor and kind of the Skeksis have fallen as well at this point in terms of their lack of logic. She goes and says, they're spreading lies about how you're draining us for essence, and the Emperor goes, no, that's true. We did that. Oh, well, can you stop? No.
Well,
okay.
How about just kill the traitors?
How about, you asked for 7. How about, we'll send tribute and you kill how about you just kill the traitors and we'll keep up a tribute to you, we'll get 7 volunteers every so often and you can just drain them and, leave me in charge, leave the rest of the Gelfling. And it's this great scene where Oscar Isaacs, who hams it up to such a delicious degree, and it's accented by the puppetry work on the Emperor.
It's Jason Isaacs, by the way, not Oscar.
Jason Isaacs. Yeah, my mistake. Different people. Yeah, he just seems to pause for a second and goes, nope. And they all start laughing again. Like every time, like this poor Gelfling, like, no, I don't want a war. I just want peace. And nope. How about I concede this point? Nope. How about this point? Nope.
And so, like, we're laughing about it because up to that point, it is kind of funny. Like, her world, she's now betrayed the entire Gelfling society, but in a last-ditch effort to at least preserve some degree of life, of society, she goes to them thinking she's on equal footing, or, to the degree that she can be, and her whole world just gets shattered. So it's like she's betrayed the Gelfling. She isn't really favored by the Skeksis. She's a man without a country, and And then the whole scene, like, just summarily changes to an uncomfortable degree. I guess we'll talk about it now. To an uncomfortable degree. Like, you and I, the comfort or discomfort with things varies greatly. Just short of distasteful. The Skeksis mirroring what they do to Chamberlain in the movie, by the way, only this is worse. You got to remember, the Gelfling are these little elf-like creatures, very, very small in stature, especially compared to these large, very strong, very tank-like, like turkey vultures that are the Skeksis. And there's about a dozen of them in this scene. And they dive on her. It's just a dog pile. And they're like ripping things off of her, and like you don't necessarily see into the pile. They don't do any close-ups of her. It's just a pile of Skeksis, and she's on the bottom of it. And
look, this is what happens when your political ambitions fail within for the Skeksis.
Yeah, I'm not. That's not the part I have a problem with.
No, that's just further explanation. I'm not trying to dismiss your point of view on this.
It's the physicality, the brutality being portrayed. Because again, imagine it's a group of guys, and that's a dainty girl. I don't think I need to be more graphic than that. You let your mind go where it needs to go. But that's what made it uncomfortable to me, because that's what I saw. I saw, like, 6'5" football players dogpiling on a 4-foot girl. So do with that what you want.
Saw, but and look, this is one of the things where you and I will disagree. Not because you're right or I'm wrong or that kind of thing, but I saw a bunch of puppets.
Okay. I was all in. I was. I did not see them as puppets.
Again, let me be clear that I don't mean that in some kind of pejorative sense that these don't feel like real characters. They do. But you took an extra step with it as far as relating this to reality that I did not.
Yeah. And
that's not, how, I don't think you're incorrect to take that step. You just did, I just didn't.
So it's like I said, it's important to understand that her journey is informed by the fact that up to the point that the mother dies, there's this long backstory of her not being the favorite child and her having to take on responsibilities that the younger child gets to shirk. And it's implied, and I tend to think it's probably accurate. Even the middle child, will do the princess routine on occasion when it doesn't actually conflict with her duties as a member of essentially the military force. Mm-hmm. And then there's just the baby who does what she wants when she wants and is indulged 90% of the time. And it's deeply frustrating. Yeah. So now you know why Celadon goes nuts, which is an important part of the plot. And then another Gelfling we meet, who is Deet, who's your stinky hippie of the group.
She's not a hippie, thankfully.
Here's your dirty, stinking hippie of the Groton clan. These are the people who live in the tunnels beneath the surface.
Can I just say, there is one of my favorite lines that comes from her.
Oh, yeah? What's that?
Someone asks, she's trying to fit in with the other Gelfling. The Groton are isolated. They live in the tunnels, and a lot of the other Gelfling think they don't even exist anymore. There's just no real interaction. So when one of them shows up, she doesn't really fit in, and one of them reacting badly to her presence and her smell and everything, kind of goes, "When was the last time you washed your hands?" And her response is, "Why would I ever wash my hands?"
It's not an unnatural response when you live in dirt tunnels. I'm just saying. But it is funny.
Her perspective on that isn't if you lived where she lived and did what she does, no, that makes all the sense in the world.
Sure. So Deet of the Groton clan embarks on a mission to save Thra from being consumed by the darkening, a corruption building up within the crystal. The planet's dying, basically. And so they sent her out to go figure out why it's dying.
Yeah, the sundering of the crystal, as well as what the Skeksis have been doing to manipulate it, is actively, again, destroying the life force that binds Thra together. And it's starting to manifest first underground. And she is given again a quest by the sanctuary tree who's been trying to fight it off essentially by itself. Like I'm reaching the limit of what I can do here. I need help. You're the only ones in a position to help me. Go do something before this gets worse.
So, moving on, there's a lot of the first half of this series sort of deals with Rhiann, the traitor, the ever developing evolution of the essence sucking machine. It goes through a few different iterations. The introduction of the spitters. Now, that's important because in the movie, there are these crab beetle things.
The Gartham.
The Gartham, who are running around collecting... by this point, it's podlings, but in flashbacks, it was the Gartham that ran around collecting what was left of the Gelfling to be brought in to be drained. Well, the Gartham don't exist yet. The Spitters do, and the Spitters are like these spider creatures.
The Ascendancy. We are the Borg.
Yes. So so there's little ones, little baby ones, and then there's the big giant tank ones. The little ones crawl on your face, and then they take over your mind, and now you are still your body, but your mind belongs to this spider hive. It turns out the Spitters were driven from their homes, and so they've got an issue with the Gelfling. And the Skeksis sort of manipulate them into joining them against the Gelfling, and so for a while they're fighting the Gelfling. And then through a series of incidents, they are convinced to switch sides. Well, this is important.
This is actually, I think, just this little bit of interaction. There's a lot in this show that all of the individual Skeksis have their own thing that they do. You have the Chamberlain, who's kind of responsible for public relations. He's the press secretary. You have the General. You have the the Master of Ceremonies. You have the Collector. Like, they all have things that they do. And then there's the Emperor, who's just in charge of everything. But for a while within the context of this, you kind of wonder, like, okay, are you just the Emperor because you're the Emperor, or do you actually do anything of value? And then you get to see a little bit that he's a very dangerous character, just kind of within his ability to manipulate the situation. Again, it's different than how the Chamberlain does it, who is more, again, like, kind of smaller scale because of his position.
He's the Littlefinger of this show.
Yeah, and then there's the Emperor's response to, okay, we got a problem, is, okay, I will go make an alliance with the Ascendancy, the Spitters, who we drove out of the caves and gave to the Groton, and we will happily let you have it back. Like, you come with us, you help us deal with the Gelfling uprising. We'll return your ancestral home to you. And the General kind of looks at him askance, like, it took a lot of our effort to subdue these creatures. What are you doing? And they get out of earshot, and he asks him, what are you doing? What, the Darkening's already severely crippled that area. They'll go back, and they'll be killed by it. Who cares?
Yeah, the Skeksis are not dumb. And that's the thing about them. Like, just talking about the Skeksis over 10 episodes, they are Twitter made alive. They're just the worst. They have a kind of a mob rule mentality, in the sense of, like, one laughs at you, they all laugh at you. And they're not the Borg. It's more of there's a great Family Guy line, and it actually kind of reminds me of personal interactions I've had since childhood all the way to yesterday as an adult, where you're friends with somebody one-on-one, but when you're in a big group of people, that same friend is a dick to you. And because he's being, it's either somebody else in the group was a dick, and then he joined in the group being a dick to you, or he starts it to make himself look better in front of all these people, and then they all if you've been to a lot of social gatherings, this happens unfortunately a lot. that's a lot of the Skeksis interactions. It's just very base and sort of cackling. You know, one of them pokes at one of the Gelflings. They all poke at the Gelfling. The Emperor exerts his command and authority, and his malevolency. Then they all kind of join in. Separated, they're more, and that's why I brought up social interactions among regular humans. It's separated from each other. Like for example, the General and the Chamberlain have sort of a natural animosity towards each other. They it's the State Department and the Defense Department. It's Don Rumsfeld and fuck whoever ran the State Department. Oh Jesus, gosh darn it! Who was the black general that ran the State Department for a while under Bush?
Colin Powell.
That's the one. It's Colin Powell and Donald Rumsfeld. There's just by virtue of what they're doing, they have differences of opinions that breeds some animosity. But there are moments where, like, the general and the Chamberlain are kind of fine with each other, but when they're part of the larger group, it's just that animosity just blossoms, So I kind of, I hated the Skeksis. They're just the worst. But like I said of Mark Maron's character in Glow, they're not written badly. They're written to be just the awfulest. I know it's not a real word, but they're just the most awful kind of evil creatures. But it's not like a Skeletor kind of evil. I want to rule the world. It's you're a big jerk face kind of evil. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and credit to, I think, like the couple of major voice actors that go into the Skeksis. Simon Pegg as the Chamberlain is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, he sounds so much like the original one that it's kind of freaky at times. Like, he sounds so much like that guy. Isaacs as the Emperor does a perfectly acceptable job.
Barry Dennen, by the way, was the Chamberlain in the original.
Yeah, Simon Pegg does a great job of kind of copying those mannerisms, the vocal patterns. Benedict Wong is fine as the General. Mark Hamill as the scientist.
Especially when he gets the one episode where they're going to fight the Gelfling and he just kind of hangs back. And first he's confronted by the Archer, and the Archer's like, "You coward!" And he's like, "I wanted to go too."
It's not the Archer; it's the Hunter.
The Hunter, sorry. The Archer is the mystic version of the same character.
Yeah, because he does. He wants to go fight, and the Emperor's like, "No, you've only got, you're a little bit damaged, and and the Emperor's point is, we really need you to fix the freaking machine."
Well, no, he said okay, and this is what we're sort of meandering about here, but I started on this line of narrative logic because you have to understand, because where the show ends, they're creating the Gartham. They're creating the Gartham out of manipulating and sort of doing the biotechnology with the spiders. The fucking...
Oh, yeah, they bring him in, there are the Iraq something or other.
Yeah. The spitters. So, yeah, he has a dead spitter that he's like, well, I can use the crystal to brew, and then he, crosses it with... They're not podlings. These are, the Guriks or something like that? Yeah,
the Gurik, and they're a race that was thought extinct, but...
Grunak, that's what it is.
Yeah, it's because he crosses the Grunak with the...
Gartham.
No, Gartham is the eventual. The Aratham, that's it, thank you. And then melds the two species together to form Gartham. Yeah, he's got one of the Aratham, and they're like, no, and the Emperor tells him, your scientific work is more important. He's like, but I don't want to be in the freaking lab anymore. I want to fight. Right. And the Emperor like, no, shut up, do what I tell you to do.
So at this point, they think the Hunter is dead, and they just kind of got him hung up on a wall like a deer head. And he finally reanimates, and he pulls himself off the wall. He's like, where's everybody? They went to fight the Gelfling. It's a big thing. Like, okay, well, I'm out of here. Why are you here, though? He's like, well, I wanted to fight, but I got told to stay behind. He's like, you fucking coward. And so we were talking about Mark Hamill's performance, and he's just like, God damn it! At which point he starts to have Ferris Bueller's Day Off. He's smoking pot in the throne room. He's having a ball. He's like,
that's what he's doing. That's what he's doing when the hunter reanimates, and then the hunter ruins his good time.
Right, that's right. And then he walks into the lab and he gets attacked by the Grunak.
There's the Grunak have kind of, because their mouths are sewn shut, and they've kind of found a way they've found something sharp, and they've freed part of themselves, and they don't want to be slaves anymore, and he's just had it up to here with them. Throws one into the lava pit, stabs the other one, and then, crap, I lost my helpers. But maybe... And then he again fuses their two corpses, and then reanimates it with the power of the crystal and Gartham.
Yeah. So, like I said, it's worth talking about the creation of the Gartham. One, because if there's going to be a second part to this, they're going to be a huge part of it. Two, in flashbacks, you see they're basically the Nazi thugs that the Skeksis sent out to collect all the Gelfling. They're basically the Skeksis don't have an army. Like, I got the impression not all the Skeksis live in the castle. Some are scattered throughout the world. The heretic obviously doesn't live there. He lives out in the desert with his counterpart. The hunter just kind of roams and does his thing. I thought they implied there were other Skeksis out and about that would be good in a fight. But there's not a lot of them. And certainly at the end of the movie...
There's probably less than 20 total.
Yeah, I was going to say, certainly at the end of the movie, when all the Skeksis ascend, there looks to be about, at best, a dozen. So it's not like so they don't have an army to, and sort of skipping ahead here, and this actually leads to my major problem with how this ends. But you realize that the Skeksis are outnumbered by if all the Gelfling got together and took on the Skeksis, they're outnumbered at least 20-1.
Yeah, it's a pretty... This is set up in a couple of different times when the Gelfling try to... Because there's a couple of different times after after the truth is made known to them. Like, the castle guard try to revolt. And there's a not insignificant number of, castle guard Gelfling, but not enough to overcome the ability disparity between them and the Skeksis, and they lose.
Right.
And there's a few others that just they try at different points in time, and again, if all the Gelfling get together, then the numerical disparity becomes so great that they're not going to be successful.
Yeah, at some point, even if your army doesn't have the firepower of your defenses. You have superior defenses, you have superior firepower, but you have a third of the volume at best. At some point the numbers just overwhelm you. And that's where we are with the Skeksis and the Gelfling by the end of this, so thus the need to create the Gartham as their army, which is obviously going to be wildly successful for them. So I just want to I touched on the nature of the Skeksis and how they're represented. Like I said, I loved it. I thought it was delicious, deliciously evil. It did kind of ping, like I said, some of those negative social things, which was just about growing up through life and dealing with sometimes shitty friends. What were your opinion of how the Skeksis were portrayed, so as a group, as a little society?
I was fine with it. I mean, again, what happens when the Urskek split is you get, the side of them that actually has wisdom becomes the mystics, but it's wisdom basically without drive, without ambition. By contrast, the Skeksis are full of ambition as well as the desire to consume everything, whereas the mystics are full of wisdom and a desire to kind of leave things as they are.
I think it's why I compared it to like the living embodiment of Twitter. It's the worst about human nature writ large, embodied by large turkey vultures.
Yeah, I enjoyed the Skeksis as what they, in no small part because much as I enjoy nuanced villains, and I do, you do on occasion just need characters that don't really have redeeming qualities.
Yeah.
Like, no, you're just evil. And you know what?
There's a great bit where like they negotiate with Agra to, at some point they capture the three sisters, and they've mind controlled one of the sisters, and they're gonna drain the eldest and the youngest, and the middle one is gonna help them do it. And they're saved in the tada nick of time when Agra shows up. And
well, Agra shows up, and isn't that also right around the time that the Gelfling renegotiate with the Arathim?
Yeah, relevant to that particular scene though. The
Okay.
hunter is dead or on the verge of dying, and they're trying, and the Emperor is like, we can't. And again, this goes to this it's a very well written beat in the narrative, because he was like, we must portray to the Gelfling to the as much as we can that we are immortal, and if one of us dies and they know it, then they'll just assume we can all die, and there goes what little power we've got. Because again, outnumbered 20-1. So it's
probably more than that, but yeah, just horribly outnumbered.
Yeah, I said at least. It's hard to tell how many Gelfling there are in each society. We only kind of see them show up all in numbers at the very end, and then
even then at the very end, yeah, it's kind of a brief thing, and it's only part of each society, and
yeah, it's whoever showed up right at the, it's kind of like it's the end of Avengers Endgame. It's whoever just they could get and showed up.
Yeah.
So they maintain power by the projection of strength. And if one of them dies, that chips away at their projected armor, and then these people will wake up possibly and see it would be really easy to take out the Skeksis. It would just fucking do it. Why are you living this way?
A lot of us are gonna die, but we will eventually Zerg our way to victory.
Yeah. Again, volume will eventually overwhelm superior firepower. So that being the case, the Emperor is like, I don't care if we have to drain the entire Gelfling race. We're going to bring this guy back to fucking life. And he's starting with those two. And Agra walks in the tada nick of time, and she's like, yeah, he's fucking dead, dudes. Like, he's gone. This isn't going to work. You're going to waste these two Gelflings' lives and the essence that you've created on trying to reanimate a corpse. Like, you have to drain me.
Yeah, if you want that, you have to drain something of actual power, like me.
Yeah. So they drain her, and it takes an extra special effort, and eventually she sort of bursts into the ether as well.
And then after the hunter and the archer, well, the hunter only dies because the archer commits honorable suicide by jumping off a cliff.
Yeah. So, well, for a while, like I said, it doesn't work. He's still lying there, presumably dead, and that's when they string him up like a deer head. Eventually, though, it takes hold, and he jumps off the wall, and now, fast forward, the word is out. At this point, enough of the Gelfling have been affected by the Skeksis and their draining machine that it's like, go get help. We're making a final stand here. So the Skeksis go on the march. They armor up. They go on the march. The Gelfling band together, escape the castle, and head over to the Stonewood camp. It's just a little village, I guess. And that's where the final battle takes place. And at first, it's like, well, how about you send your best versus my best? And so Rion has this magic sword, and he ends up stabbing the general. And so they're like, well, that didn't work. Fuck it. Let's just all-out war. And again, at that point, there's not enough Gelfling to really overwhelm this group of Skeksis, and the Skeksis are really strong and really powerful. So the battle's not really going the way they need it to. Things start to change. The tide starts to turn a little bit, and then the hunter shows up and nearly kills Rion. And right as he's about to rip his head off, basically.
The hunter also destroys the magic sword.
Yeah. Like, yeah, he breaks the sword. He's about ready to rip Rion's head off. Like, there's nothing the Gelfling can do. They're at their darkest moment here, and the Mystic's like, well, it's been a good life. Like, it dives off a cliff.
Which causes both of them to perish, and everyone sees this and freaks out a little bit, and then the Arathim show up, and the Skeksis realize they've been betrayed. And I mean that kind of happened a little bit earlier, and then the rest of the Gelflings show up, and the Skeksis are like, okay, all right, the situation no longer favors us, and the Emperor unleashes the power of the Darkening that he's kind of coalesced, and Deet, who's been given the power of the Guardian of the Sanctuary Tree before it dies, is able to stop and reflect it, and the Skeksis go, oh, well, that wasn't supposed to happen. Yeah, retreat.
She goes full on Emperor, by the way. She shoots Force Lightning.
Yeah,
at them, which, as an aside, I know we're kind of jumping all over the place, but just hopefully you're entertained by it at least. The Skeksis are not just a mass group of shitty people. They each have their own personalities. Some of it's sort of driven by their job title, and some of it's they just have a distinct personality. There's a girl Skeksis that's like very vain and very concerned with her looks, such as they are. There's this other one, and of those Skeksis, he has one of my favorite lines. Like, the general's like, that's why I was talking about the reanimating of the archer scene. The hunter. I keep calling him the archer. The hunter scene. Because Aughra's like, let the Gelfling go, all the Gelfling, and I will give you my essence to reanimate this guy. And they're like, fine. And the Emperor then kind of sidebars to the general, like, kill the Gelfling anyway.
And make sure they don't actually leave the palace.
Yeah. The dirty double dealing Emperor. So he fucks off to go do that, but he tells one of the Skeksis who really doesn't have a job. He's got a deformed nose. He's like, it's all got bubbly and warts on it. That's Aquafina, and thank God she dies. Okay. Yeah, it's a little hard. I could not tell what sex it was. There's one that's clearly a girl, and then that one I wasn't really sure. So you come with me, and she's like, why does it always have to be me? Which is some shit my son does. I laughed my ass off at that. I was like, you lazy thing who does nothing the entire show. You're asked to do one thing, and you're like, why? It's like a 5-year-old. It's so good.
In that same vein, I think one of my favorite lines, and this is not just it's also the entirety of the circumstance that it's said, when the scientist is trying to, figure out what to do with the Arathim, and nothing's quite working, and he's not going to get to go off to war, and he's pouting around his lab, and he says, I am incontrovertibly the most put-upon creature in all of Thra. As he's standing next to the slaves that were the last of their kind given to him, who have their mouths stitched shut. He's not even the most put-upon creature in the room.
That's good stuff. So anyway, we've been at this for an hour now, so if you're wondering, like, wow, you missed a whole chunk in the middle there, look, it's just it's a slow burn to the Gelfling realize, one, their plot lines coalescing with one another, and eventually Bria, Deet, and Rion all meeting one another and having a focused goal to get to, and then them breaking off again. There's hurdles, there's action set pieces. It's all very fine, high fantasy kind of stuff. But what I really want to talk about... Go ahead.
Before that, we haven't talked about Hupp yet.
Go ahead, because I don't really have a whole lot to add to this.
Oh, come on. He's the best.
So, real quick...
Much as I do not care for the optimistic characters as a general rule...
Well, hang on. There's an important detail, and if you don't say it, I feel like I must. The first thing we know about Hupp is... So, he's one of the podling creatures, which they're kind of... They're kind of on the dim side, and they have a guttural language, and they're very small... but he wants to be a paladin, and his broadsword is a spoon.
I mean, look, if you don't get flashbacks to the Ticks battle cry, I don't know what to tell you.
No, I didn't, as a matter of fact.
Come on. Oh, his battle cry is Spoon.
Well, now that you've said it, sure.
But look, Hup, I'm not normally one for the plucky, optimistic sidekick as a character or trope, it's just, it tends to grate. I find them more grating than enjoyable 90% of the time. Hup, by contrast, has this ridiculous goal that is never actually going to happen. He wields a spoon because he can't actually wield a sword. But, gosh darn it, he's going to try. And I think what kind of sold me on Hup as a character, not only his interactions with Deet, which are kind of amusing, because while he is a podling, and thus, kind of a second-class citizen in some respects, I mean, citizenry implies equality in all other ways, and podlings, again, they're on the dim side, they're on the self-indulgent side, they're
kind of like children. Like, they're infantile in a lot. I mean, some less so more than others. I think I'm very much stuck on the scene where Bria is forced into servitude as punishment for disobeying the queen, the Maudra, and she has to bathe a bunch of them.
And they just are not having it.
There's one eating mud. There's another one bathing in it. There's one running around naked.
Yeah, they're kind of like, your son, but their maturity level never really gets above that of a 5-year-old, no matter how old they grow.
I would go with 3.
3, okay. Your son, whatever age he is.
He's 5, and he can sit in a kindergarten class and earn rainbow for his behavior, which is the highest level, you jerk.
Uh-huh. Rainbow.
Yes.
Anyway.
You start out with a green, and then you can move your clip up to, I think it's blue, then pink, then rainbow, and rainbow is the highest level. Yellow and red are unacceptable, by the way.
Naturally. Anyway, point being, again, this is a somewhat impossible dream, but gosh darn it, he's going to try. And again, what kind of sells me on him is the couple of different scenes where he is very obviously self-aware of what's going on. Like, no, this is impossible. I had this stupid dream and I was going to try it, but now that I actually look at it, this isn't a sword; it's a stupid spoon. What am I doing here?
He's a noble imp. He actually in the scene where I want to say Deet and him show up to one of the Stonewood villages, and they're attempting to drink ale. This clan of tunnel dwellers is looked poorly upon by all the land-dwelling societies of the Gelfling. And she's just they're just on a quest, and this happens to be where the inn is at that time, kind of a thing. And they walk in, and it's like the piano player stops. Everyone's just kind of giving them side eye, and they won't let her get to the beer tap. It's a whole thing, and I think at one point either she gets attacked or knocked over or something, and
a couple of the other Gelfling are just giant dicks, and they're like, no, you can't sit at the same table as us, and shove her over, and he's not having that.
You go use that water fountain over there, the broken one, that sort of thing, and he just starts fucking up all sorts of Gelfling.
Yeah, so again, Hup is kind of awesome in that respect, and I'm also, like I said, I'm not usually one for that kind of plucky sidekick, but Hup does enough that is, again, self-aware, and he's not. I like that, despite being, again, the optimistic variant of the characters, he's not irrationally optimistic. He's never obnoxiously, well, golly gee whiz, it's all going to work out okay.
He's also not utterly useless.
Yeah, thankfully.
He
does stuff.
He's not Scooby and Shaggy. He's not the lovable scaredy cat. He's not like an Orko, where he's a bumbler. He's trying his level best and sometimes succeeding.
Yeah, so that's kind of all I wanted to say about him. But I do feel he deserved at least, cursory acknowledgement as a somewhat valuable addition to the presentation of the entire show.
So there's not a whole lot of other detail. I want to talk about the end battle and where the series leaves off, because that's all important stuff. But if you're wondering, like, well, there's a whole thing in the middle. Look, it's a lot of this person gets captured, we got to save them, or we got to get this item, or people, like I said, coalescing and splitting apart. Very, very high fantasy, very D&D-ish. It's Willow, it's Labyrinth, it's all of those things. It's fine. It's solid, high fantasy, 10-episode television. When you've heard us do these TV parties on Netflix shows before, we talk about the tightness or the looseness of a particular series. We think some of the Marvel stuff, rather, tends to be a little too much. Too many episodes, not enough plot. I will say this about the narrative structure. I thought it was all good. I thought 10 episodes was perfect, and they filled each episode right to where it needed to be. I want to talk about the end, so is there anything in the middle or any part of what I just said you want to add to?
No, again, I agree. 10 episodes was just about right. It all flows very nicely. There's not a lot of pointless filler.
Nobody goes to the mall. There's no Rhea and Bria and Doot go to the mall kind of an episode. There's no waste, is what I'm saying. There's no goofy, like, there's no entire episode dedicated to a flashback. None of that.
No. Again, thankfully, I think they made the most of the time they were given. And if Netflix came to them and said, how many episodes do you want? And they had the self-restraint to say 10, you know what? Good for them. Yeah.
It's very much a 10-ish hour movie that doesn't really drag in any place. I think this works best as a 10-episode series as opposed to maybe like a 2-hour movie, just because there's so much world building that has to get done. It was very ambitious. They needed the time, and so if the beginning of it's like, move this a little faster, can we get the ball rolling? I didn't feel that way, but if some people kind of came to it like, it kind of drags in the beginning, it's just because there's a lot of, you have to get Solid into the right place for her when she finally makes her snap. You have to get to know Rian because he's in peril almost immediately. Like the first episode almost entirely deals with him.
Yeah, it's him. It's the rest of it's Deet being called to her quest, and then it's the guard at the Crystal Palace, and the Skeksis discovering that they can drain Gelfling. And yet, we don't get to know Rian almost at all up until, like, his father's killed.
Yeah.
Like, he gets a much slower burn on his character, whereas a lot of the others get a little bit front-loaded.
All right, so, as I said before, it all kind of comes together in this final battle where, essentially, the Skeksis are like, well, there's a rebellion starting to build here. Let's just cut the head off this thing, nip it right in the bud, by taking out this group. If we can put down this group hard and fast, this doesn't spread because no one else is coming to this thing. We're cutting it off at the pass, and there's not enough of them that we can't take them. The Gelfling are like, get the fucking word out at this point. This is the last Jedi end sequence. Basically, their backs are against the wall. They're in a pitch battle against a superior enemy, and they're like, call for help. If you remember The Last Jedi, they sent the word out, and it was like, maybe more rebels will come. So that's where. So it's the last stand kind of a thing, and like I said, it goes kind of back and forth. Now, like I said, it builds up to this point where the general's been stabbed, and then he'll be betrayed by the Chamberlain, who will stab him in the dark. So they're out of the game. You have this pitch battle going between the Skeksis and the Gelfling, which starts going the Gelfling's way, at which point the Emperor is like, nope, I'm going to use magic now and use the power of the Darkening to start killing Gelfling. He then is counteracted by Deet, who uses the power given to her by the life tree, and she shoots force lightning, no joke, at the Skeksis.
She reflects she reflects the energy that was released by the Emperor.
Looked like Purple Force lightning.
I'm not disagreeing with your visual. I'm saying she doesn't summon it. She essentially he unleashes this destructive wave of energy, and she goes, haha, mirror force.
Right. All the Skeksis get hit, but the one that earlier where I was like, why does it have to be me? Because it does, Jonas. It has a great little bit there right before it gets blown up. It was just like, oh, that kind of tickled, and then he blows up. So now the sergeant's down. The Skeksis have now seen at least 2, and they don't know about the other one of their little group die in this battle, and they're like, "Fuck it, let's go." We're not winning this. Also, at this point, all the other Gelflings show up. So all the other tribes just kind of show up right at the very end. So there's this huge show of force. So it's like 2 Skeksis are dead. Their general has been taken out of the battle. One of the Gelfling can shoot the Darkening back at them. And, oh, by the way, the entire Gelfling society has showed up to take them out. The Skeksis are like, fuck it, beat feet. Go back to the castle, rethink this whole strategy. Here's my problem. Everyone came ready to fight. They were surrounded. This was Custard's last fucking stand. The Indians have the high ground. Why didn't they just take them out right then and there? Just open, did no one have any ranged weapons? There were no arrows? Even if they just jumped off the cliff, if they just jumped off the cliff onto the top of the Skeksis, they only lost a few. But just again, I have no rational explanation for why the Gelfling let them go, but they literally just let them walk off the battlefield.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure either. That's an odd one. I'm not sure they were surrounded necessarily so much as, we only have one avenue of retreat now, let's hurry before we do get surrounded. But if that's the case, they do not do a good job representing that to the viewer.
If you're saying, they escaped before the Gelfling could get their shit together to stop them, that's not what's being portrayed on screen. It's if you can picture hang
on. When I say that, I don't mean that again, all the Gelflings show up, but that doesn't mean there's not a logistical avenue for them to retreat through. Because I don't recall them being they say we're surrounded, but we're surrounded in military terms has different meanings than literally surrounded.
Okay, this is they're fighting in a cul-de-sac, though.
Oh, yeah. Again, I wish they had been clearer about this. We have we have an avenue of escape that they haven't yet got, or the Emperor throws another batch of the Darkening down just to, ruin the ground in front of them so that they can't be followed. Mm-hmm. There's things they could have done to make it clearer that the Gelfling were not able to actually finish this now, as opposed to, well, we're all here now, and there's the enemy, and, go back to your castle, you dumb lizard birds.
Because here's the thing. This wasn't a matter of, the Skeksis encroaching on territory. They're driven back, and it's okay, well, as long as they don't encroach on our territory again, we're fine. The Skeksis were intent on genocide, and the Gelfling knew it.
And in fact, the Gelfling state, we're still gonna, we still need to deal with them. We're still going to overthrow them. The Gelfling's whole point here isn't, okay, they're done, yay, we're free now. It's, no, we know we still have to go deal with them.
I mean, I guess if the story being told here is they just needed to survive this battle, and now part 2, season 2, whatever is coming down the line. This hasn't been renewed yet, so I have no idea what they're going to do. But let's assume they get renewed for a second season. Part 2 deals with the war. This was what was intended as a quick stamping out of a minor rebellion has now blown up into full-blown war. But you can't just fucking rush the castle, I guess. So, en masse. You still have to get organized.
I want them to I want that to be the first episode of season 2, if there is one. A bunch of the Gelfling charging and running into the Gartham and being, oh shit. Like, a small group at the back is the only survivors of this charge of the castle because there's these unholy abominations that exist now.
Right.
And okay, we have to rethink. And now, so at that point, it's the Gelfling. Okay, we have to rethink everything now.
I mean, that's possible. It's just like I'm saying end it right then and there, and it may have just been they ran faster than we could get our shit together and get down in there because they are. Because like I said, I described it as the battlefield as sort of a cul-de-sac. It's one lane in, one lane out, and they and the Gelfling are at the end of the cul-de-sac, and it's easy for the Skeksis to just back up and leave faster than, and so everybody that shows up cliffside. They're at the top of this cliff that overlooks the cul-de-sac. So I guess without jumping down, or firing arrows, let's assume they have 0 range weapons. Okay, fine. They couldn't get into the battle at that time without hitting their own Gelfling, or their weapons don't reach. Whatever may have been implied. You don't get to see these armies, so I'm taking wild stabs in the dark here. But okay, well, we know where they are, and they have no defenses. We were their defenses at one point. We were the castle guard. So we'll get them tomorrow. It'll be fine. And then that's actually a really good way to start the season is, we're going to form this one little army. That's all we're going to need for this. And they all get summarily wiped out by the newly built Gartham.
Well, again, at least the group that goes. We know we need a bunch of us.
Well, no, I'm not saying all of Gelfling society. I'm saying they send a unit.
They send it they need to send not just a unit, but there's a small army, not a huge army, but a small army is going to go attack the castle. We're going to see if we can just deal with this here and now. You can even send Rian with them because he knows the place inside and out. And the other Gelfling, okay, we're going to continue organized. We're going to keep joining up. Assuming you're successful, we're going to need to establish some kind of new rule. We're going to have to make sure everyone's on board with everything. And then, Rian and 3 others come staggering back, bloodied and haggard, and no, guys,
this isn't gonna work.
That went badly. There's these things.
Yeah, there's these crab tanks that are giving us itches,
and and we don't know what to do about this.
Yeah. So that was my major problem with this. The other, because like I said, I'm making it's a contrast in the narrative in that everything was pretty tightly focused. I said I had to infer a lot in the beginning. That's why I spent some time sort of hashing that out. It's not firmly set how we got from aliens to 2 separate beings to rulers of this group. They just kind of skim the details. So I have to infer a lot. That's why I went through all that. Then you get to this pitch battle. And I don't know why the Skeksis got out without the fucking Gelfling tearing them apart. But but up to that point, once you get past the sort of sketchy beginning, everything else is pretty solid. Things are happening for reasons that are perfectly plausible and explainable, and I'm okay with it. But then you get to this ending, and it all kind of fell apart for me. It's not that I didn't enjoy it. I didn't understand why the Skeksis got away, and there's no good explanation, so that's a problem I have with the writing. Here's the other problem I had, same degree of issue. When Jen goes to see Aughra in the movie, he's like, I'm here for a shard. I need a shard to fix the crystal. And Aughra's like... Oh, by the way, when they kill fucking what's-his-nuts, the archer, the hunter, he dies, the mystic dies, and Aughra reforms. Exactly as she left. Though she has a really... You still with me?
Yeah.
Though she has a really funny line about, I may be reborn, but I'm still old. Yeah. So she's there when all this is happening at the very end. And... So fast forward to the movie, right? The Mystics send him out. Go to Aughra, get the shard, put the shard in the crystal lobster. Great. when Jen tells her, "Hey, I need a shard," she like grabs a box full of them, throws it on the floor, and says, "Figure out which one you need, pal." And she just fucks off somewhere else. And there's a whole sequence of him going, "If I'm a shard, and instead of a magic crystal, which one would I be?" And he plays his flute, and he plays, which I guess is he plays the song. The shard responds to the song, and he figures out that's the one. Did she forget? Because at the end of the battle, Bria, I believe, and I can't. I just watched this, but I can't remember what the detail is on this. But she has the shard at the end.
Look, the crystal, the shard of the crystal is in the pommel of the magic sword. That's why when Jen stabs the general with it, he reacts much worse than the average stab from a sword. Like part of his essence gets drained.
Yes, okay. That was a detail I missed. So she notices that the hilt on the sword has broke, and she finds the shard. She's got the shard. Okay, yeah. They know which one it is now.
So why does the movie does Aughra just not give it to him?
Or know which one it is?
Okay, I'm going to say this, and believe me, I know it's stupid, but high fantasy, so there's a bunch of stupidity that's inherent to it. I know, again, there's a bunch of high fantasy tropes that make no logical sense, but they are high fantasy tropes. She knows which crystal it is, but you know what? Prove you deserve it.
Prove your metal.
Like if you can't find it, then you're going to cause. If you're not worthy enough to find it, then you having it is only going to cause more problems than it's going to solve.
Okay.
And again, I know
there's
that's
no
stupid.
Acknowledgement of that in the movie, though. In the movie, I hate to be a stickler, and this might be a kind of a neckbeardy to technically, but watch the fucking movie again. She gives no fucks in that scene. She's like, "What's the stupid gelfling doing here? I need a shard. Here's a box of shards. Knock yourself out. I'm going to watch Oprah." And when he finds it, like, consider Luke and Yoda, right? And Yoda's messing with Luke, and when Luke finally figures something out, Yoda's tone totally changes, acknowledging that he either passed or failed a test that Yoda set him up for. There's a payoff to the setup. She dumps the box in front of Jen, and then he finds it. There's no acknowledgement that, you are the chosen one. And I want to say shortly after he finds it, they get attacked by Gartham.
Oh yeah, Gartham show up. Is like he finds I've got the shard of the crystal and the Gartham attack.
Which, so there should have at least been a narrative. If it's prove your mettle by choosing the right cup of Christ, choose wisely. Boy, well, we reference a lot of movies when we do these, don't we? If it's a Last Crusade thing, you must choose, but choose wisely. At least the fucking knight in that one said, you chose poorly or you chose wisely. There's an acknowledgement before the whole place comes apart and I gotta run out of there.
Well, in fairness, the Dark Crystal did occur before the Last Crusade.
Yes, but that's... Come on.
I'm just saying, maybe if he'd seen it, if Jim Henson had lived to see that movie, then, he thinks about that whole sequence a little differently. Maybe it's also that, maybe it's a character thing as far as Aughra goes at that point, that she's tried this already, and she's just so jaded by the time we get to her in the movie from seeing the entire Gelfling race annihilated, that she just you know what, I can't do this again. I've been down this road. Knock yourself out. Give it the old college try. I'm just waiting around for the heat death of the universe. Like I've done my bit. This ended badly. I don't care anymore. I'm not getting up for this again. You're just one person. I tried with an army. It didn't work. If you want to go knock yourself out, and fine, go. You go knock yourself out. I'm watching my stories.
In the movie, was it established that if the crystal isn't repaired by the time of the Great Conjunction, the crystal's just going to blow and the planet's going to go with it?
I don't remember exactly what it is. I think the way they phrase it is, if the Great Conjunction comes around and it's not healed, it will the alignment of cosmic energy will actually do what the Skeksis have been trying to do in the television show, which is it will just give off enough energy to make them immortal.
Okay.
I don't know. That's the best I've got. It's been a while since I've seen the movie.
I'm going to have to watch it a second time before Thursday when we do the on trial and try to pick up a few of those minor details, just to fill in the blanks for myself. Because if you just focus on Jen's quest, you've got wings. Well, of course I've got wings. Well, I don't have wings. Of course you don't. You're a boy. Even as a kid, I remember all the adults in the rooms groaning at that. But anyway, you don't remember that bit?
I do.
Okay. I again, I mentioned people groaning at the "Of course you don't, you're a boy," and no reaction out of you. I'm puzzled. I figured that'd be a thing you'd react to.
It's a profoundly stupid thing, but sure. It's such a minor detail that who cares?
It's funny to me. What can I tell you? All right.
Okay, at least you amuse yourself.
I really do. At least twice a day. Now listen, other than minor quibbles with some of the narrative beats and maybe a drop-off in writing at the end, overall, perfectly enjoyable high fantasy. I'll give you the last word on this. Or anything not said that you felt needs to be discussed.
I really liked the Hunter. From a visual perspective, I think he's the only one of these characters. I mean, again, they're all puppets.
He's the only one not lumbering.
Yeah, he feels less like, a full puppet construct and more like a human in prosthetics, which I think they actually did for a few shots.
Mm-hmm.
That's just, again, they gave him there's the thing with the Skeksis mask, but all the other Skeksis are, their puppet form, and then they have a guy in costume, and that's the Hunter. And it has a profound impact on the visuals of a lot of those scenes. I mean, look, there's a few bad points of CGI with him, like where he's running through the forest. Like, oh, God, that looked so bad. But anytime times other than that, like there's scenes where you just get like a sudden wide shot of him standing and everyone else kind of hunched over, and he draws his weapons, and you kind of go, oh, crap. You're 8 feet tall. And... so I liked his visual representation and the way he kind of came across. We didn't talk a tremendous amount about, the heretic and his mystic counterpart. There was a great line from that. We're going to tell you the story of what happened using the most ancient and sacred of storytelling methodologies, puppetry. Okay. Okay, fine. You get a bit of a chuckle and a clap for that one. Good on you. So I think that, and again, at the end of the day, this is a good, not great show that if it gets a second season, and I hope it does, I like that they didn't shy away from the Skeksis being evil and doing evil things. And again, if we get a second show, a second season, don't get attached to the Gelfling. That's not going to go well.
Yeah, the Dark Crystal is a tragic saga, not a comedy saga, for sure.
Yeah, I would, and I am perfectly happy with, again, a tragic prequel like this that establishes, Aughra being jaded to explain some of her behavior in the movie, the demise of the Gelfling. I'm completely okay with that. Like, yeah, go for it. I would, if we get a second season, don't drag this out. We don't need 10 seasons of the Clone Wars, all right?
Yeah.
Don't drag this out. You have a concise story. Tell the concise story and let that be the lead into the movie.
In fairness to the Clone Wars and then Revenge of the Sith, that's a 3-year battle out in space with 2 huge armies. There's a lot to mine for that series.
I understand, and I have no issue with it existing. Okay? Again, my issue is, boy, it's taking us, we have 10 seasons of material. And maybe there is, enough material within the expanded universe to make stuff. Okay. But, there's only so much that I'm kind of willing to suspend as far as that goes to get from. Well, it took us, 10 years to represent this 3-year space of time.
Well, okay. They need to. I'll tell you what season 2 does need to do. They need to establish the Grunak as more of a thing, because you need the Grunak to create Gartham. You need the creation of Gartham and enough Gartham to bring down the entire Gelfling race. I'm wondering if there's other beings on this planet that we just haven't met yet that have kind of been neutral through this, or just, the Skeksis didn't bother with them. The Gelfling don't interact with them. They're just on the other side of Thra. And the Skeksis are kind of like, well, we're fucking out of allies right now, and the Gelfling are coming. We have no defenses. We can't make, the Gartham fast enough. So we need to form allies. And they, and if I haven't read the comic book or any of the YA books, so I don't know if those are things that exist in this universe or not. But if they want, other than the creation of the Gartham and the elimination of the Gelfling, I don't know what else there is to do in a second season without creating new races of beings to interact with the Skeksis.
Yeah, if you're not really going to take a shot at really expanding the overall world, then all you've got is the battle between the Skeksis and the Skeksis and the Gelfling, which again you can do. I think you could get another 10 episodes out of that, but that's about all you've got.
Well, like I said, narratively speaking, there has to be a reason that the Gelfling don't immediately sack the castle, because right now they've only got one Gartham. They got if it takes one Aratham and one Grunak to make, there's somebody out there going, Jesus, guys, what the fuck? But bear with me here. If it takes one Aratham and one Grunak to make one Gartham, right? They've got plenty of Aratham. They're all around the castle and underground. They can get them pretty easily, at least volume-wise. The ability to do so, I guess that'll be the fun of watching the show. But they also need a lot of Grunak. So I feel like right there's an open space of what's stopping the Gelfling from immediately going after them before they can gather the resources to create the army that kills the Gelfling. I don't know. I'm not there, but that's where the development has to take place. Like if you're storyboarding this, it's this big space between where the Skeksis are now and the Gelfling attacking the castle. You need to fill that space.
Yeah, I agree. There has to be something, or you have to come up with there has to be some other explanation for why the scientist is able to rapidly make more Gartham. Yeah. And I'm okay. And again, if you come up with another reason for that, I'm okay with it. You're correct. Right now, it's like, okay, one Grunak, one Aratham, we'll get you one Crab Tank. Fair enough. If him discovering the process leads to him being able to streamline this some other way, I'm okay with that. Like, that's fine. Like, okay, I made one, I can now replicate it.
So in other words, they don't need any more Grunak and they don't need any more Aratham. They can just sort of...
We can make a bunch of clones.
Yeah, we can clone the one that we've got.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, that's
fine. A perfectly acceptable reason, but you do need a reason.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe the one that he creates is like a queen, and it rapidly, hatches eggs.
It's born pregnant. He creates it pregnant.
Yeah,
now you have the German cockroach problem, but that's okay. They can deal with it.
I'm just picturing the alien queen now. It's just this big. In like the Alien vs Predator movies, where it's just this big queen sort of just sitting back and like attached to the wall, and it's just producing egg after egg after egg.
I was thinking more like a one-time thing, like, okay, we've got this, and it spits out 5 more. After 3 days later, it spits out 5 more as the Gelfling are in transit. Each of those 5 creates 5 more. Each of those 5 creates 5 more exponential growth. Well, that's actually more geographic than exponential, but you get the point.
Yeah. All right. If that's
not geographic, geometric.
I wasn't going to correct you. So that's it. That's our review of the Dark Crystal: Age of Resistance. We'll call it season 1, just in case there's more seasons of this. Overall, definitely a series worth checking out if you haven't. If you just like I said, if you're just listening to us because you like the Radulich Broadcasting Network and you'll listen to whatever the new episodes are, but you haven't seen the Dark Crystal: Age of Resistance and you're into high fantasy, it's worth your time. It's worth a binge. With that said, Onslaught Month is reaching its close. Speaking of high fantasy, we've got the first 3 episodes in the can. Next Monday, Onslaught 4 drops, and that's the end of the series. And then we pick up Scary, Scary, Deep, Deep Woods Are Really Scary month in the month of October with Gotham by Gaslight. We'll do the book, then the animated movie. We've got a review of Tarja in the Raw and On Trial for the original Dark Crystal, which we've spent some time talking about tonight. We may or may not be doing boxing this Saturday. There's a middle of the afternoon fight in England between Andrew Shelby and Jay Harris. I'm either covering it or I'm at a winery with my wife and other folk. There's a review of Rambo: Last Blood a week from today. Korn: The Nothing. Robert and I are back to discuss yet another high fantasy show, this time an animated series, Disenchantment, brought to you by the good people who brought you The Simpsons. Part 2 is dropping on the 20th. We'll discuss it on September 26th. And no boxing or anything else that weekend. Then we got Hell Yeah, Welcome Home, BH 90210 with myself, Jesse, and Pat Mullen, who swears never to watch wrestling again. And then we're into Joker week all week long here on the Radulich Broadcasting Network. More on that in the weeks to come. Robert?
All right. Last Saturday, I was providing live coverage for UFC on ESPN Plus 16. You can find that in the MMA Zone 411 Mania. This coming Saturday, coverage of UFC on ESPN Plus 17, as well as the 411 Ground and Pound MMA podcast, reviewing the one, previewing the other. You can find both of those. You can find me here next Saturday. What are we doing next Tuesday? Is that Rambo?
Yeah, Rambo.
Yeah, I'll be back here next Tuesday on Damn You Hollywood for Rambo: Last Blood, which should be a thing. I only bring that up because I actually really liked Rambo 4 as a closure for the character.
Yeah.
And I also think that's probably my personal favorite of the Rambo movies and probably the second best behind the original.
Yeah, I'll go along with that. I mean, Rambo 2, just because it really kicked the series into high gear, and it's obviously it's the Rambo that everybody associates with the character, not the first one. The first one, no, it exists, and that's where you meet the character. But the one if you say Rambo, the name evokes that iteration of the character.
Yeah, I agree. But again, that's just my take on it. So Last Blood, because Rambo fighting drug cartels at the behest of the poor, beleaguered illegal aliens. You know they're going to do that. I
believe the Mexican cartel kidnaps his niece is the plot.
Sure, that'll work. Look, I mean, my cynicism aside, watching Sylvester Stallone as Old Man Rambo just murder people, I am down for.
Yeah,
I am not complaining.
I was going to say,
about
where
that.
is this coming from? You're going to see, an old guy shoot up a Mexican cartel. Stop bitching.
Well, look, I have reasoned criticisms, but I'm not using that at all to kind of say that I am not interested in this movie. I am very much into him shooting and blowing up people and stabbing them, and that I am down. I am down for this movie.
I'm not bringing my daughter to this one, in case anyone was wondering.
How about your son?
No, and not necessarily because I don't think he'd enjoy it. I just don't think he could sit through it.
And he's a giant weenie.
Leave my son alone. Stop being a bully.
Okay, how about your daughter? Who who loves female protagonists until they're actually put in danger.
Yeah, she's a giant weenie, but I love her.
I need to bring that up briefly about the Dark Crystal, because you mentioned this interaction you had with her to me. Like, you said, hey, let's watch this. Are there any girls in it? Yeah. There's a female, one of the two heroes is a girl. Okay. And then she's captured and gets smacked by one of the Skeksis, and your daughter's like, no, you can't do that.
Yeah. She was perfectly okay with Jen being abused, but the girl gets abused. She's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I really do have to point out that your daughter's a feminist only in so much as, like, and I know she didn't react to the character, but she wants her female characters to be in as much danger as Captain Marvel is at any point in time, which is to say none.
Loved Captain Marvel.
I thought you said she didn't care that much for that, but she really loved the Wasp.
Yeah.
Okay.
She sat through Captain Marvel.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
More than my son did, by the way. My son was like, fuck this, and walked out of the room.
Look, if I had been able to do what your son did, I would have.
All right.
I had just
our hour-long discussion on this puppet show has now almost gone 2 hours.
So anyway, we'll be back here next week. I think that's it for my plugs, and then Mark's going to make me... we'll be doing Disenchantment, which I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I was like, wait, you're starting Mark's making you. I'm not making you do anything.
I was going to say you're making me see Joker in the near future, which is true.
This is true, yes.
I don't know. I'm so profoundly torn on that movie because, on the one hand, Joaquin Phoenix is a more than capable enough actor to do something with that character. On the other hand, I don't know. Elements of a Joker origin story are somewhat antithetical to my views on the character, so, I don't know. We'll see.
I'm choosing to look at it as a editorial on the modern descent into madness. This is kind of a 2020-ish take on, what is it, Walking Tall? Whatever the movie is with Michael Douglas where he...
Falling Down.
That's the one. Falling Down. Yeah,
Walking Tall was first a miniseries in like the 70s and then remade with The Rock.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Falling Down. I feel like Joker was sort of the 2020 version of Falling Down in terms of one average man's descent into madness. The one bad day concept.
Unfortunately, again, and I'm very interested in Joaquin Phoenix's performance. I am interested in nothing else about that movie.
All right. Well, with that enticing little tidbit,
that's what's in the future for us, everybody. Thank you very much for listening. However you found us, thank you very much. We deeply appreciate it.
Yep, we are on. However you found this, we are on every single podcast app you can find that still exists and isn't being shut down in the very near future. Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, you name it, we're on it. We're there. Anything powered by Listen Notes.
Look, we're on YouTube, for crying out loud.
That's correct.
There's a lot of places you can find us, so please, by all means, do so. Okay. However you have the option to interact with the material, please do. Look, I think we deserve a thumbs up if all you have is a thumbs up or thumbs down option. Give us a thumbs up, please.
If you have any things you'd like to say to me in particular, or you want to say to someone else and just have me pass it on, I'm at Mark Radulich on Twitter.
Yes, please tweet Mark. He's lonely.
And on that note, be well, be safe, and behave.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans. 30% of Americans who are planning home improvements of $5,000 or more will pay for those renovations with a high-interest credit card. That may not be a great idea. A better idea may be to take cash out of your home with a Quicken Loans 30-year fixed-rate mortgage. The rate today on our 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 4.125%. APR 4.22%. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
Rate subject to change. 8.88% fee to receive this discounted rate. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. License in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030. responsibly.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans. 30% of Americans who are planning home improvements of $5,000 or more will pay for those renovations with a high-interest credit card. That may not be a great idea. A better idea may be to take cash out of your home with a Quicken Loans 30-year fixed-rate mortgage. The rate today on our 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 4.125%. APR 4.22%. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
Rate subject to change. 8.88% fee to receive this discounted rate. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. License in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.